Welcome to Comfort Havoc number 2. I'm your host, Echo Fan Greywolf. So I made this video on my TikTok, and if you follow me on TikTok, you can find it's only like 9.5 minutes long, if that, give or take a minute or two. So I talked about the Power Rangers, because I'm a Power Ranger fan, and if Hasbro wants to hire me, I am available. Like right fucking now, I am available. So, talking about the Morphers, alright? Now, I'm not a fan of the giant Morphers. You know, like in Ninja Steel, loved the show, hated the Morphers. I only like the Morphers that go on the wrists, with the exception of Zeo and Turbo. Alright? Now, let me break it down for y'all, because I didn't want to go into it like 2 or 3 parts on a TikTok, even though we have 10 minutes. So, my favorite Morpher is the in-space Morpher with Andros, alright? Because it's simple, you can wear it on your wrist and nobody's going to know. Same thing with the Battleizer. No one's really going to know what that is. You just tell them it's a fucking watch. And most people aren't going to ask you any questions. Like, yo, except for what time is it? Hopefully the Morphers can tell time without having to morph. But you never know. But, so, in space, Lost Galaxy. Those are Morphers that I like. Because they're on your wrist. You only gotta touch like one button. Except for in space, it's 335. And then you touch the ignite button and you morph. 335. Ignition. You know, and you morph. I also bought at the Sentai show. And most of their Morphers are also on their wrists. There are just like very few Sentai Morphers that aren't on their wrists. Unless you count like the Sailor Moon show that was way back in the late 90s. Where the thing was on their dress. And I ain't talking about the adult version that I still watch. But I'm so far behind in those. But anyway, the Sentai Rangers, most of their Morphers were wrist activated, you know, which works for me. Now, when it came to like In Space, Lost Galaxy, I wanna say the one with the trains, Lightspeed Rescue. I think they also had the wrist Morphers, but I can't remember. So that's an issue. I can't remember what Morpher they had. I talked about how I don't want the Jungle Fury Morphers because they're sunshades, and how my dumb ass gave my shades to somebody. And the thing with the original Morphers, I said that if I take that coin out, it's gone. It's a lost cost. I'm not going to have that shit anymore. Whoever finds that coin is going to be a new Ranger. Because I'll still have the Morpher, which is why I would be the only Ranger who does not give up my power cord. Because I wouldn't know how to, 1, keep track of it, and 2, I probably wouldn't even be able to disengage the bitch from there anyway. So, when it comes to, you got to give up your power coin, or your parents are like, here, take the whole fucking Morpher. It's like, what? You can't take the Morpher. I said, he's got to take the Morpher. It's the only way he's going to get the coin, because I don't know how to get the coin out. So, you know, I'll be throwing him the fucking Morpher, you know. And then, I know Zeo Rangers is like, Zeo. And Turbo is like, and they had a key. That's the only thing I don't like about the Turbo Rangers, that you had to have a key to ignite the goddamn thing. Whereas Zeo, those little golden nugget things, you know, you just, and like Lego blocks or Lincoln Logs, they just connect. And so they were cool, but they weren't the ones I liked. But they were on your wrist, so they get credit for that. Same thing with Turbo. They were cool, but they also, you had to have a key. You had to do extra shit, which with In Space, Andros dropped in, threw them the Morphers. It's like they automatically knew. Do, and they were Rangers. Same thing with Lost Galaxy. You know. They Lost Galaxy. You know, they hit the damn shit. Same thing with Time Force. Now, when you got the Gal Force, it was a cell phone. Somebody else was a cell phone. And then Operation Overdrive was the slide down thing. And then they went back to the wrist things. I can't remember if they went back in Dino Thunder, but I know with the Ninja Storm, they had the wrist things again. You know, and I like the ones that go on your wrist because you can just walk around with them all day and nobody's really gonna question them because no who stares at people's wrists all day unless you're like gonna steal somebody's watch. Um, there's a couple of other ones, but I can't remember them. But I know when it got to Wild Force, it was the cell phones. Whatever came out the Wild Force, I can't remember. And then I think it was Jungle Fury. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whoever came after, whoever didn't have that, then they got Ninja Steel, where they have these big throwing star things, and I'm like, yo, that doesn't work for me because where do you keep it? How do you hide that? What do you do with that? Because you're freaking you're walking around in school. Where do you hide that? I mean, like I said in my TikTok, girls can have it because they have purses. They can walk around. It's morphin' time. And you see how much of a struggle that was for me. What about dudes? Those bitches are big. They can't fit in your fucking pocket. At least with the original Morphers, they still couldn't fit in your pocket, but they could make really cool belt buckles, which no one would expect them to be. But everything that went on your wrists, it's pretty easy. It's on your wrists. You can't go wrong. It's on your wrists. And like I said, unless you have that curious girl who activated Andros' Battleizer, no one's gonna know. And again, like Time Force, they hit one button. Time for Time Force. Boom. Turns into a Ranger. And I know y'all thinking, what brought this up? So I was watching a YouTube earlier, and it was all about the girl Rangers and shit. So it was cool. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, which one of these is my favorite fucking Morpher? Then we got the Dino Charge. And Dino Charge had the Morphers like handguns. So like you can't walk around with that shit hidden anywhere. And another thing, and I say this because up until like Dino Fury, the Morphers can never be pulled out of the air like the weapons. They pull the weapons out of the air. Like all the time they pull the weapons out of the air. But the Morphers are always on them somewhere. They don't just like materialize when you need them. But Dino Fury, I think Beast Morphers, I think you could just pull stuff out of the air. But you couldn't pull, but every Power Ranger's been able to pull weapons out of the air without like doing any kind of crazy shit and pull weapons out of the air. But you can't do that with your Morpher for some reason, which is ridiculous. But it is what it is. And same thing with Sentai. But I think in Sentai, it wasn't as conspicuous as the other shit that's inconspicuously there. Like you got this big ass thing on your wrist, it's a Morpher. But to the average person, that shit could just be a fancy ass watch. Hey man, like your watch. There's a monster. You look back at the guy with the fancy ass watch, he's gone. Because he just jumped up into the air and started fighting the monster. No one's going to pay attention to a guy with a fancy ass watch. But you see somebody whip out a gigantic ass square thing, And then Power Ranger Samurai, where they had the cell phone things and they did the little symbols and then spun it around. Mystic Force, they had the cell phones that turned into wands. Who else am I missing? Again, Jungle Fury, where they had the sunshades. And in the Sentai version, they had gauntlets. And the gauntlets would look like tiger claws. Well, that would probably stand out, but they still had gauntlets. They still went on their wrists. I got a pair somewhere. But only one made the noise when I bought it. And I was kind of mad that they both didn't come for that for the price that I paid for that shit. Plus, they're, like, unfortunately only made for children. So, but my in-space Andros Morpher, I can get a new band and make that for adults, Because at the time I bought it, my arm was a little bit smaller than it is now, and it could fit my wrist, but I was like in my 20s, and I hadn't gained any weight, so it was good. now that I'm in my 50s, it doesn't fit like talking about it. So I have to take it off, and I'd have to make a new wrist thing for it with Velcro and shit like that, which won't be a problem. I could do that. Y'all seen me sew before, and if you haven't, I have sewed some things. I sewed My Little Pony thing. It's on TikTok, and I sewed a bear cat thing. Both of them for my nieces. Anyway, what do you think? If you were a ranger, which morpher would you rather have? The OG big bulky square, the wrist shit, the cell phones, or the Ninja Steel big bulky things? And whichever one you pick, you explain to me how you would hide it. Because, like, the cell phones, okay, they can go in your pocket. So if you're like Gal Force and whoever the hell else had the cell phones, Mystic Force, Gal Force, Wild Force, whatever, you can conveniently get away with a cell phone because no one's really gonna question it why your cell phone looks like a gigantic man or anything. But the Power Rangers Megaforce, they carried like a fucking clock Flavor Flav totem thing about the size of this damn pad thing. It's like, where the fuck are you keeping these at? And that was the thing about like non-TV logic. Where do they keep them? Where do they keep these damn morphers like that are huge? Like I said, cell phone and the wrist ones, okay. But the very first morphers, they were big and bulky. I mean, you could pass it off as a belt, like the belt buckle, you could pass it off as that. But it was still big enough that people would notice it. Where the wrist shit, nobody pays attention to the guy with the fancy watch. And then when they went back to other things, when they went to the cell phone, no one paid attention to the cell phone. That's pretty obvious. But when they went back with Ninja Steel, and they're carrying these big spinny star things around, where do you hide them? That's the main question. Where the fuck do you hide them? Because, I mean, they're there, but where do you fucking hide them? You know? And then freaking, Dino Thunder, they were great, but Dino Fury had handguns. You can't walk around with your morpher looking like a freaking handgun. I mean, you can't. Morphers look like a handgun. We think we're gonna have to get some cops to arrest these guys. I mean, you gotta think about how these morphers look. Same thing with like SPD and the other one. Was it RPM? Yeah, it had to be RPM, where they're carrying them around, and the one with Troy and them on it. Because they had, their shit looks like they were like gigantic ass totems or tablet wannabe things. So, you know, it would behoove you to have something that's convenient in a convenient place that wouldn't wouldn't totally mess stuff up. You know what I mean? Sorry, I got distracted by a Dixie Ultra Plate commercial. A lot of hats. Anyhow, let me know what you think in the comments. What morpher would you prefer to have? I'll already let you know real fast. Andros' morpher is the best morpher for me. Not Zane's because it's a damn cell phone. I don't really need the battleizer, just the morpher, but I'll take the battleizer, you know, because it was also awesome. But everybody else, you know, cell phone and all this, nah, I don't want that shit. Hell, my cell phone's bigger than their cell phones now. So, yeah, we're going to take a pass on that. I will say, though, the Lunar Wolf cell phone didn't look too bad, even though it was shaped like a wolf. And I'm pretty sure that it was on his wrist, but he slid it off. But I'm probably wrong. And I can be wrong. I'm not ashamed to be wrong. It doesn't hurt to be wrong. Sometimes you learn from being wrong. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to close this out with that because I just want to know, if you're a Power Ranger fan like myself, which kind of morpher do you want? Do you want that big bulky shit that you can't hide your identity from? Because there's always going to be somebody who's looking at you and say, hey man, what's that? Where if you're like Andros, this bitch looks like a wristwatch. It's a fancy wristwatch. and then like if you, everybody else, the shades from um Jesse and the cool dude, the one that ran the pizza parlor. How would you hide your morpher? And since they're sunshades, how would you not lose your morpher? Because I know I've been a game out of way. I have given away a pair of shades. I have lost a pair of shades, a very expensive pair of shades. Well, $20. It's still a very expensive pair of shades for me. So you get the clusterfuck. Let me know how you guys feel about it. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Echo from Grey Wolf. This is Combo Number 2. Be seeing you.